Hey, everybody. GameHounds Podcast. We are here, back, still sheltered in place. And, yeah, I'm getting tired of being inside. The working from home thing is great, but I'm really tired of working from home. I want to go out to an office. And the thing is that I know that it means that I'm going to be working more since I only have one very small job right now. And so most of the time I'm like doing dishes and not doing work. But I'm doing work. I'm sitting on the phones waiting for someone to call, but I'm doing dishes while I wait. But I'm getting tired of doing that. I really want to go into an office. Hey, Barbara Zelikman is in the chat room. So woke up yesterday morning, took a shower, and it was like, wow, this water's not very hot. That's disturbing. By the end of the shower, it was not hot at all. And then went and checked all the other tabs, and it's like, yeah, no hot water. So our pilot light had gone out because we had a thermocouple fail, which is the thing that keeps your pilot light on. When it reaches a certain temperature, it stays open, so it allows that little trickle of gas to go to the pilot light, and it had failed. And we're like, we could call somebody. Huh?
Pleasant.
Yeah. So we could call somebody, the guy that had installed the water heater like 8 years ago, or we could do it ourselves because it's a weekend. They're not going to be out. And this is an easy fix. I've changed thermocouples numerous times. But I left it to Kevin because I had stuff to do. And it didn't go well. In the process of trying to change one part, he broke two more. So I had to call this morning, and they're not getting the water heater guys out until tomorrow. So we have no hot water for the weekend because yay. Sucks. Just sucks. But it is what it is. So no hot shower. Well, we have the downstairs apartment. We can go down and take a shower there, but I am showerless today for that reason. And so you got your topics, you got your news, everything?
Sure. Yeah, let's say that I do.
Nick, you just half-assed this show so much. So if you want to get a hold of us, it is gamehounds.net is our website, and gamehounds@gmail is our email. And we're Edie Settlers and Nick DiNicola. No Holy Gully today. I sent him an invite, but he is very much involved with his own channel. Kind of split off. Digital to Dice he's broadcasting twice a day, sometimes. But, it's getting him through. They're snowing out there. What have you got? We're overcast and cold.
It's overcast but sunny, if that's possible.
Yeah. You're a light overcast. It's all burning off.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on with your week, dude?
Not a whole lot. Like, it's a general hanging out inside, just kind of doing work and watching TV.
Yeah. So you do have to keep watching. By the way, have you started Dispatches from Elsewhere?
I have not yet. I have gotten way into Black Sails, which is way better than I said last week. Last week I was just like, oh yeah, it's a fun pulpy adventure, and now it's like, no man, it is the political machinations of everyone. Like, it's the kind of show where when two captains fight, you're like, God damn, I want both of them to win. This
Oh,
is
okay.
oh
Well, that'll have to be our
shit.
next show.
Oh, it's
What are you watching it on?
Blu-ray. I assume it's on like the Stars streaming channel if you've got that, but I
Yeah.
got the Blu-ray a long time ago.
Okay.
And yeah, it's so good, especially where I'm at in season 2. It's like getting into some real heavy character development that's impressive, and I'm like, damn, I really like this
Cool.
show. Um, it what was I gonna say? Oh, it's also got a hell of a theme song.
All
Theme
right.
song at the beginning. It's like, oh, this is good. Every time it starts, it's just you just want to bang on a piano.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we finished up Dispatches from Elsewhere, and it rapidly turned into a show that I did not expect.
Okay,
Um, yeah, it went from this kind of interesting adventure to this. It shifted gears, and Kevin and I were like, I'm not so sure that it should have shifted gears. And then by the end, like the last episode, it all makes sense, and it's like,
okay, that's
wow,
good.
that's a really interesting show. And it's a
Hmm.
really interesting show for right now. It's it was written by Jason Segel from How
Yeah,
I Met Your Mother and Forgetting Sarah, what was it Forgetting Sarah Marshall or whatever it is.
yeah.
Yeah, Jason Segel wrote it, I believe he directed it and produced it and stars in it. And at the end you realize that this is a really interesting show. It's almost like he's a big name star, but it's an independent television show.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to say something with the show
Okay.
that is, yeah, reality gets really fucked up at the end. And by the end, you're like, oh, this is kind of a message from Jason Segel to the world.
Okay.
It's
Interesting.
it's really interesting. So yeah, I'm huge thumbs up for it. I'm
I
still kind
like
of trying
him.
to process it.
I
Yeah.
know he's done some other directing and writing that's ended up like
He wrote the
really,
Muppets
really good.
movie. He
Yeah,
hated Muppets in Space so much that he wrote a new Muppets movie because he didn't want that to be the last Muppets movie. He's a
and
very talented person.
yeah,
He
yeah.
writes
He's
soundtracks too. I had to
oh
look it up.
really?
Like it was a kind of show that when you're done, you look up what's going with like tell me about Jason Segel's life. That came out. And yeah, it's he's incredibly prolific.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of stuff you don't expect. Like he's mainly known for How You Met Your Mother and comedies, but he does a lot of good
Mhm.
drama stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Impressively
He's
so.
really good in this. He's really good in this as playing a guy who is a coder who works for essentially Spotify. It's not Spotify, but it's Spotify. They don't call it Spotify, but it is Spotify. As a coder, and lives a very boring life. He goes to work, he works, he comes home, he stops at a bodega, he buys something for dinner, he sits in front of his television, he watches Law and Order while he eats his dinner, and then he goes to sleep and he gets up and then he goes to work and does exactly the same thing every single day. And is completely unengaged with his life. It's like he's just a walking robot. No feelings, no emotions. It's like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it's pretty much about that in the first half of the show. And then in the second half of the show, it becomes a little bit of a mystery adventure. And
Okay, I dig
then
that.
by the end, it's like a hey, this is my message to you. This is Jason Segel's message to the world. So it's kind of three parts, with the last part being the last episode, which takes a really abrupt turn where you're like, what? Wait a minute, hold on a second. Why are they calling the character Jason? And or like, did somebody fuck up and call him the wrong name? It's like, oh, he's playing himself in the last episode.
Okay, don't say anymore. That's interesting.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
That's a real trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, hello, children. Bitters Plus says we got AC Wraith and Barbara Seligman in here. So let's start a show. What do you say?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Mics are hot. Hello and welcome to GameHounds. GameHounds episode 544. We are recording this on May 10th, 2020. We are inside yet again, still staying here. AC Wraith already in the chat room who reminds me to tell you that our Patreon is patreon.com/GameHounds. Every little bit helps. If you got that stimulus check, you can send a little tiny bit to us, but no obligation. Just saying, we could always use a little something to keep the show going. But we are here at GameHound Central with no hot water and won't have any hot water for the whole weekend because we're awesome. And with me is Nick
By
DiNicola. Hey,
we,
Nick.
yeah, by we you mean you, not me. I've got plenty of hot water.
Yeah. You've got hot water. I do not. We had a water heater failure last night and we can't get the water heater guy out until tomorrow. So yay, no showers or hot water. It sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. I remember I had a moment in another apartment when the hot water went out, and it was like, well, am I going to take a cold shower or do I want to wait for them to fix it? And it was a very, very iffy situation. Eventually, I ended up
What
taking
did
the
you opt
cold
doing?
shower. I took the
Yeah.
cold shower, and it was like, oh, this is cold. Holy shit. It's like ice
Yeah.
water.
Yeah,
Not something
cold
I want to
water
do
doesn't
again.
it's one of those things that you think like, "Oh, I could do that. It's no problem." And then you take a cold shower and you realize, "I can't do this." I mean, when it gets like 100 degrees outside, yeah, you could totally take a cold shower cuz the ambient temperature of the pipes and the ground and everything around you is probably going to be nice and you're going to be hot. Cold shower is not too bad. But when it's not dead of summer or a heat wave, a cold shower is awful.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we got Eric Baker in the chat room. We got Bitters Plus. We are on YouTube. Don't forget if you are listening to us live on Spreaker, that's cool. That's great. But if you want to see us actually doing the show live on YouTube or Facebook, you can. Our YouTube page is GameHounds Vids, VIDS, as in videos. Or you can go to Facebook and go to the GameHounds, THE GameHounds, and our page is there. And you can watch us doing this show live, both Nick and me. You can see into our messy houses. Well, not Nick's messy house. My house is totally messy.
Yeah.
So,
Also, you're just looking at a wall.
yeah, it's just a
You don't
wall.
get to see a whole
Yeah.
room.
What you been playing?
I've been playing Final Fantasy. And for once, not just the Final Fantasy mobile game I've been talking about, but actually Final Fantasy VII Remake. I
Oh.
started that over the week, and it's really, really good.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Would I like it?
I don't know, because you like Persona 5, so you're into the JRPG weirdness. I think I think so. It's a because the story has been changed so that it all takes place in the city. Like in the first game, the original one, the first like maybe 5-10 hours or so took place in the city of Midgar. Uh, and it
Mm-hmm.
revolved around this group of eco terrorists trying to blow up these Mako, as they say it in this game. I always pronounced it Mako in my head as a kid, but now they pronounce it Mako in this game, like the shark. Mako
Mm-hmm.
generators that like take take Mako energy from the Earth and use it to power this giant city. And they're like, you're destroying the planet and all that. And so they're trying to blow up these Mako generators. And so the beginning of the game very much focused on this group versus the kind of totalitarian city. And then very quickly you leave that city and go on to have an adventure in the other world. But in this remake, because it's kind of unofficially it's officially part of the story,
Uh-oh. Nick, your audio has disappeared. Can you guys hear me and not Nick? Because his audio is gone. And it looks like he has
okay, can
muted
you hear it
and
now?
okay, you're back. Yep, I
I
can hear you
don't
back.
mute it. The game mute the not the game. The site mutes it for some reason.
Oh, that's odd. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Um. So this one takes place entirely in the city of Midgar. Um, and that has some good and bad side effects. The good is that some of the side characters that you just kind of meet briefly and then forget about in the first game, the original, here get
Mm-hmm.
fleshed out into really solid, compelling characters of their own. Some of the side members of your group, Wiggs, Bessie, and Wiggs, no, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. Uh,
Biggs
there,
West, you mean
uh,
Wiggs and Bessie?
yeah, Wiggs, Bessie, and Diggs. No, Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. Um,
Yeah.
get fleshed out, and Jesse especially gets like a whole section of side quests kind of dedicated to her past and exploring like what she wanted to do, how she ended up with this terrorist group, and things like that. And it's all very very good. The downside to this expansion is that sometimes some of the dungeon sections feel like they drag on for a little too long. Like there was one part I was doing last night where I was in a train graveyard, and it was neat. Like I'm going through this spooky area. It's like, okay, this is cool. And I go through the train graveyard, I fight a boss, and then I keep going through the graveyard, and then I fight another boss, and then I can move on into a new section of the game. And it's like, well, I understand that you're trying to expand this world and that you're trying to also stretch the length of the game out because it's all kind of the intro. Um, but at the same time, you didn't need to stretch it out that long. Um, that was a little annoying. But then you also get parts like this one that you're showing on the screen with Don Corneo, where the three main characters have to find a way into this mobster's house by like trying to dress themselves up as trying to pretty themselves up to such a degree that he will choose one of them to be his wife for the evening.
Oh
And
God.
the quests that you go on in that section of the game are all great. Um, so the I think the expansion has some benefits and drawbacks, but overall, just seeing these characters like rendered in such high density graphics, because like if you go, let's bring up a video of old Final Fantasy VII just for
Okay.
comparison's sake, and it is mind blowing. And so it's nice just to see these similar scenes and similar characters and similar things play out in such a radically upgraded way, but also expanded on the characters. I think that all of the characters uh, are sort of handled better. I think the dialogue feels natural. I like how all of it fits together. I like some of the back and forth banter between Cloud and Barrett, who don't get along very well. I think a lot of that's done well. One of the things, so the combat system also is one of those things that's like good bad. The combat system itself, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And in the video, we're seeing the old game now, which is
Yeah.
just such a throwback and just such a
Yeah.
it fills me with such nostalgic joy. See if
Trying to
you can
see
bring
if I
up.
can find a cutscene.
There aren't many cutscenes. The cutscenes basically look like that, exactly that. It's just the in-game blocky characters walking around by themselves instead of with you controlling them. But see if you can find a video of the combat for the remake, because the remake combat is very, very good. It's this mix of real-time action and turn-based action, where all the action flows in real time. When it starts, you just kind of run at the enemy and start wailing on them like it's a Devil May Cry game. But then once you fill up a certain meter, you can pause the game. You don't really pause it. It goes in slow motion, but it goes in super slow motion. That's actually really cool to see. And this allows you to select things from a menu. And you can actually select all of the character's actions from this menu. So, like, in there's some good situations where like I'll be surrounding one enemy. Hang on, stop scratching at that. Well, all the characters will be surrounding one enemy, and all of the balls will be full. And so I'll pause it for one character, have them do a move, and then without leaving that pause or that super slowdown, switch to another character, tell them to do a move, switch to another character, have them do a move, and so then I let things go, and they all executed things at their powerful moves at the same time. And so it's fun because it keeps that sense of turn-based tactics, even though a lot of the actual action is flowing in real time. And I think it handles that very well. It feels very good. It's very fun to play. I actually, on the screen, I just fought these guys last night, and this fight in
Mm-hmm.
particular was super fun. Unfortunately, a lot of the fights are really, really frustrating because and it feels like, because so much of it takes place in real time and you've got three characters wailing on the enemies like it's an action game, you can, generally speaking, deliver a lot of damage very quickly. And it feels like the game is very unsure about its pacing. Like it doesn't want these fights to be over quickly. And so it puts up a lot of roadblocks in your way to prevent you from doing all that damage that you can do. So many fights are like, hey, here's an enemy and it's going to enter a certain phase where you can't do damage. So just sort of wait around and dodge until it passes through that phase, or attack this other part of it. At one point, I fought a chariot, and this chariot at certain times would fly up into the air, and it's like, oh well, shit, I've only got one character with a ranged attack, so I guess I'll just shoot with her for a little bit until it comes back down. Maybe wait for the others to get their magic bar up and use that. Another times it was in the chariot, like running around in circles in the arena, swinging its sword, and at that point all I could do is, well, I'm just going to run after it like a dumbass until it stops and I can attack the wheels. But it's like, for a good 30, 40 seconds, which seems short, but in the middle of a very intense fight like this, 30, 40 seconds is a long time of just run,
Mm-hmm.
run, 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 run. Okay, now it's stopped. Now I can fight. And other enemies, they go up into the air that make them difficult to hit. Other enemies have shields. That means like I have to dodge behind them and then attack. Uh, and it feels like the game just, instead of making the fights more dynamic, it feels like these obstacles are just kind of artificially extending the length of the fight by putting in means to make it difficult for me to deliver all the damage that I could do at once. And that's really frustrating because it doesn't feel tactical. It just feels like, oh well, here's the moment in the fight where I just have to sit around twiddling my thumbs like a dumbass. And it's like, okay, do, 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 do. Fight continues. Fun, 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 fun. Oh, well, okay. Um, and so a lot of the fights go from this is really fun, I like this, to oh god, this is horribly frustrating. Fuck this. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's what I
and
remember from my experience with playing Final Fantasy games is that it's frustrating as hell, but you still keep coming back to it because it's like, I know I can get through this. Or sometimes you need to walk away and it's like, I know I can finish this. Where there's times when it's like, this is impossible. I can't do this. You walk away and then you come back. It's like, I can do this.
yeah, and I would not be upset if that's what it was, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, so many of the fights, so many of the most difficult fights in this game feel like they're difficult because of these artificial roadblocks the game puts up. The fights that um uh like this fight, like I said, this fight was tough, but it was really fun because it was a they just had a lot of health and they could do a lot of damage. And so it was just like,
Right.
okay, it's just me against them, constant action, constant thinking about what to do, and none of this bullshit like, well, okay, I'm going to stop and wait for them to go through some situation.
Right.
So
It's very straightforward.
yes, and I like those most straightforward fights. I don't like the fights with all these extra little gimmicks that think make the fight dynamic, but just make it less fun. And so I'm hoping to get to more of these fights over the course of the game. Um, but that said, the rest of the game is so good and so compelling that I will easily play. I'll suffer through some frustrating fights, because even if they get really frustrating, I could just put it to easy, and the easy mode is really easy. It's so easy that it renders a lot of those roadblocks are still there, but because I can do so much damage, so much more damage, you know, in my turn, I might have to encounter one of these roadblocks during a fight rather than four if it was on normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of
Right.
that frustration is just rendered pointless. Um, but what also is really fun about this game is Caitlin has taken to really enjoying it, and so she's taken to watching me as I play through it, um, and so that's
Well,
been
Final
fun,
Fantasy games are beautiful to watch. That's the
beautiful to
thing.
watch,
They've always been.
and interesting stories. Like I think it's
And
doing some
interesting stories.
interesting things, especially this one. Like there are a couple moments that I'm not quite sure what they're getting at, but it almost feels like and I've actually read people speculating about this elsewhere, that it could be like less of a remake and more of a sequel in an interesting way, because there are some moments when like this character Cloud, at certain points in the game, he'll get like this. The screen will go fuzzy, and he'll kind of go to one knee and have like a flashback to,
Mm-hmm.
some memory of his past, his tragic past.
Wouldn't it
You
be
know,
hilarious if it went back to his past and
and it
it
was the
looked
old
like the
game.
original Final Fantasy?
That would be. You know what? I would seriously not put it past this game to do something like that. Um, but like, so you get into this rhythm where the screen goes fuzzy and he gets these flashbacks to his tragic past. But then he, at one very brief moment, he gets that fuzzy flashback to something that hasn't happened yet, to something that I know what will happen because I played the original game, but something that I
So
don't actually.
premonition.
Yes, a premonition. And it's something I don't think will actually happen by the end of this game. It's like a premonition to the far flung future. And then there's another scene where another character gets a fuzzy thing like that and is like, oh, so it's not just like this fuzzy thing is not just limited to Cloud, like we've seen. It happens to this other character too. And I don't know, just the fact that it's not limited to one character means that it's not just a directorial choice, right? It's not just a stylistic choice the director made to show, oh, look, now we're going into flashbacks. This is something that's affecting other people too. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, are these premonitions? Are they just seeing into the future? Are they actually flashbacks? I don't
Are
know.
they
But
just foreshadowing for the game's sake? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but it's very interesting. It's very fun. Um, we just hit like a big dramatic part in the game, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here because a lot of it I didn't remember, and it was kind of funny watching videos of the old Final Fantasy. Um, like there's a point where you meet a new character, Aerith, and you kind of do some stuff with her, and then you gonna go home, meet her mom, talk. And I was like, "Oh wow, meet it's mom. I didn't know that this character had a mother." And then I was thinking in the first game, no, she does. She totally has like an adopted mom figure that you meet, and it's like, oh. And there's another fight against this boss called an Airbuster that takes place on this T section of a catwalk, and in this game, that boss takes place on a T section of a catwalk, and it's so similar. I was like, "Oh shit!" They took that exact same boss and setting and managed to put it into upgraded game. It's like they actually made that work. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, AC Ray says it would be interesting if they remembered the first game and then changed the plot.
Well, they are changing things. They absolutely are changing things because in
Oh,
the
really?
first game, the big bad of the game is Sephiroth. 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 I forget how to pronounce it. Sephiroth is the big bad, and he doesn't really show up until the end of the Midgar section. Like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of see him at the end, and that's why the Midgar section is such an introductory thing in that game because it ends with the introduction of the big bad Sephiroth. In this game, he shows up like within the first 40 minutes. Like once you finish the big battle, like the initial action scene is you blowing up one of the Mako reactors. Uh, the moment you do that, you walk out onto the street and Cloud sees Sephiroth, and they talk and they have a conversation, and it's like, oh shit, they're obviously changing a lot of the plot up in order to bring that big bad into the situation a lot sooner.
Right.
Um, so I'm interested to see where they go and how they handle him. But yeah, it's definitely and I've heard other people say this that when they say remake, it's not so much a description of the game. Like, don't think of it as Final Fantasy VII. Don't think of it as a remake of Final Fantasy VII. Think of Final Fantasy VII remake has a new game, a new title that's based on the old one. That the remake in this case is like colon something something. Uh, Ignore the word itself and just think of like Final Fantasy VII colon re. So like it's an updated version, but a lot of the plot and a lot of the characters and a lot of things have been expanded and changed and switched around to such a degree that to just call it a remake kind of undersells the changes that it's made in both plot and
Mm-hmm.
structure and gameplay and pacing and story. Um, so yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I recommend it. Especially if you like the first game, if you like any Final Fantasy, it's highly recommended.
Mm-hmm.
And
Good deal.
one of the things I do really like, is for as frustrating as the fights can be, uh, the way the save system works is there isn't really a save system. If you get into a fight and you die, you can just restart that fight from the beginning. Like it asks you, do you want to go back to a checkpoint? Do you want to retry from the last battle? And if you choose that last battle,
Right.
it will spit you out literally right before that fight triggers so that you can go into the menu, switch around your magic, switch around your weapons, switch around all your equipment to better prepare yourself for that fight. And in addition to that,
That's not unique to this game. As I recall, Final Fantasy does that anyway, which I always loved that.
did it? I
I'm
always
I mean, I
remember.
only played one Final Fantasy, and I can't even remember what it was, but I think that was the case,
Okay,
that you could go back to the beginning of the fight, like I said, change your
yeah.
loadout, and then go back to it.
But what's nice about this game, and what's definitely unique about this one, is you get to
Mhm.
keep all of the experience that you earned in that fight initially.
Oh, nice.
So by losing and going back to the beginning, you're not actually losing any progress with
Penalized.
the character. Yeah, there's no
Right.
penalization for it other than just the fact that you can't continue with the story. So
Right.
any
That's nice.
yeah, it is, and it lessens some of that frustration a bit because I know at least the characters are getting a little better each time they die. It
Right.
still makes those roadblocks frustrating though.
AC Ray says, I mean, fourth wall breaking. Like the characters get visions from the first game and then decide to change it. That would be kind of cool. I would like to see that too.
There's a moment, and I won't get into too much detail, but when one character is looking at another, and one character is very sad and crying and scared, and the other like touches them, and there's that green fuzz, and all of a sudden the sad character is like, "What?" And then the other character is like, "Yeah," and then they go on, and it's like, "What in the absolute fuck just happened? What did they see? What? How?" So again, I don't know if it's being meta or if it's just getting into like uh, premonition aspects, because it would not be out of the ordinary for a Final Fantasy or any fantasy game to have characters with premonitions, right? That's
Right.
perfectly reasonable. So I don't know if it's just that or if it's getting like really, really meta. Um, but I'm
Could be
interested to
both.
see, and I've heard that the
Yeah.
ending is batshit crazy, and so I'm very much looking forward to getting into that.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'll probably pick it up. I'm still playing Death Stranding and I'm enjoying it. I'm hit the state of where the World War I sequence,
Mm.
this one,
Mm-hmm.
and I just recently finished through this, which was very different than the rest of the game.
Yeah, the walking simulator becomes a third-person shooter.
Yeah, and then you end up getting guns, and now I finished that
Excuse me.
completely, and I'm hitting into doing missions, but now with lethal weapons, which have an inherent issue to them. Is that
Yes,
I'm assuming that if you start using lethal weapons like the mules are using against you now they're trying to kill me. Um, that you'll turn it into a BT area. I'm thinking. I don't know for certain
from
because I
what
haven't
I
killed
know,
anybody.
if you kill someone, you have several days to dispose of the body, but you have to actually
Oh,
pick up that body and take it to one of the burn facilities.
oh yeah, fuck that.
Because if
I
you
hate transporting bodies.
because if you don't, and I've heard other this happen to other people, um, but it never happened to me because I never let that happen. There is one of those big old void. Is it called a void out? Or
Yeah.
am I thinking some other fantasy thing? Okay, you get one of those big ass void out explosions that like render like a crater in the environment. And I haven't actually seen them, and I should look up videos just to see what it looks like. But I've heard on podcasts people talking about how the void out would cut a building in half, and how it's actually really cool just to see all the work they put into rendering the innards of a building that got sheared in half.
Right.
So
So yeah,
I
yeah,
should check that out.
it was definitely like, what the fuck is this? This is not the game I'd anticipated. Went
Mhm.
from being something I understood and I was used to, and it made me not used to it anymore. But I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the game, but it's a Miyamoto game, not Miyamoto,
Kojima.
Kojima. Thank you. It's a Kojima game. So the story is going to be dense and kind of slow, and that's okay. But I've the whole idea of doing a Final Fantasy or doing just a very easy kind of game that isn't quite so heavy emotionally and actually moves a little bit more quickly, and I don't have to be given all this information I don't know what to do with, was very alluring to me. I picked up the two free games from PlayStation today. last night. The farming simulator and city skyline, but I'm not really ready to do I don't want to do a sim. If I did, I'd want to do it on my PC. I was looking at several games that I've been thinking about, sort of. Not really quite sure if I want to do them. There's some really good sales going on,
There is. Keep talking. I need to
but
check on some strange sounds. Could
all
be
right,
cats.
go do you. So I've been thinking about picking up some games, but I think I need something that's a little bit, I don't want to say easy. I'm just talking about easy as far as taking the story and going with it. Like it doesn't, it's not, it's not a mysterious story that you're kind of picking up dribs and drabs and trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And Final Fantasy is one of those very straightforward storylines. Like, here's what's going on, and we're going to fight this person, and then find out new information and realize there's something that needs to happen. It's much more clear and traditional as far as the narrative of the story. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. So maybe Final Fantasy might be the good one. I really, really, really want you to get through the Final Fantasy so we can play the MMO, because that's kind of what I'm craving human contact.
Yeah,
And that's
although
what it all comes down to, is that I'm sick and tired of not talking to anybody. I haven't played with anybody in close to 2 months, 55 days. I certainly, but since the beginning of this stay in order, I haven't played any social games whatsoever or multiplayer. It's all been single player, and it's now starting to hit that
maybe I'll make an exception and skip ahead to the MMO, because as I was playing Final Fantasy VII, I remembered, oh right, I have Final Fantasy 15 that I never actually played. I got it for Christmas years ago. Still in the shrink
15 isn't
wrap.
the MMO, is it?
No, it's not. That's
Yeah,
14.
yeah.
So I remembered, oh, I've got another single player Final Fantasy in my possession. And so I went and dug it out of my drawer and installed it. And so now Kingdom Come Deliverance has finally popped out of the PS4. And now it's been replaced with Final Fantasy 15. So I'm like, oh, once I'm done with Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I'll play Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, so Final Fantasy 14 has fallen back again.
Yes.
Fallen a little bit farther down the list.
Yes, and then because there's
pop it forward just for an evening, just so that you can play around with it a little bit.
I should, because I also bought Final Fantasy 12, the remake of the actual remake, the HD update of Final Fantasy 12. So what's funny is if you look at the home screen for my PlayStation, it's Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 14, 4 Final Fantasies in a row.
All right.
So yes, maybe I'll make
Let's make an actual date. Like, make it a game night, make it a date night where you meet up with me, and we'll just do it one night a week. Would love to do that, because
okay. Then what's a good night?
I'm
for
going
you?
a little stir crazy.
What's a
any night?
Okay.
I mean,
I can't do tonight because
I have to be off by midnight, and anytime after 6 and between 6 and midnight.
Okay. Then about tomorrow then. We'll just start it. I'll jump into it tomorrow.
Monday nights? Okay.
Yeah. See what that's like. I'll tell Caitlin.
Will give me time to download
special
14, because it's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not a small download. It's going to take a little while. So yeah. EC Ray said she could be playing Warframe on PC, but no, you're right. No.
Actually, make it
Walk
Tuesday.
Away from the crack.
Make it Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay.
Yeah, because tonight I won't be able to play Final Fantasy, and we ended on a big cliffhanger, a big dark moment cliffhanger. So I'd like to spend at least another night getting through there and progressing that story a little bit before
Okay.
doing something else. Okay, so yeah,
All right.
Tuesday. Tuesday is
Tuesday night.
officially
Tuesday night it is.
multiplayer game night.
And we'll stream it. We'll stream it on Twitch
Okay.
from the PlayStation. So all of you listening can enjoy watching Nick play his first MMO ever. And then on two conditions. One, that Wallace Fury doesn't come in there and talk about ESO. No, we're not playing ESO. And two, that AC Ray stops bitching about Warframe. Those are the conditions of us streaming. So yeah, that's what I've done. And the other thing I played was as a suggestion from you, Sticky Words. Played a little bit of it last night. It's a nice time waster. It's actually a lot of fun because I was mostly interested in finding out some of these words that are awesome words.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty fun.
Is it to remind you, Sticky Words is the game where you are given kind of the words all. Why is it bringing up?
I think it's sticky
I did a
terms.
search on sticky terms.
Yeah,
I still got sticky words, and it's bringing up Mafia 3 gameplay.
that's
Sticky
weird.
terms. There
Yeah,
we go.
you're given like parts of the word, like the curve of a
Parts of the
B,
word that you have to assemble.
the angle, like the outward diagonal of an R, and you kind of have to piece them together.
Right. And yeah, that is I just was doing it simply because it was a something to do, and it wasn't Death Stranding. It just Stranding fine. I just didn't feel like doing. I needed something a little lighter,
Yeah,
and
that's what
so
I really enjoyed about this game is it's free and it's just very light, just sort of a fun. It's just challenging enough to kind of keep you focused, but easy enough that you can just kind of like calm down and like it's kind of meditative experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and it's oh, this one just took me a while to get through this one. Because I was trying to solve it as turning my phone on the side, and it would not solve. Um, so yeah, it's you kind of have to make sure that you place the words in the center of something, because like in this, it does not like to do certain things, but yeah, I'm having a really good time. Oh, this one was a nightmare for me.
it's just a whole
But
bunch
I'm
of
having
curves
a
and
yeah, right. And it's like that there's O's, but there might be U's involved, and it's like you're thinking, okay, it's
yeah.
U's, but that's not
Well, see
it.
what I like about
Yeah.
something like this is you look at that and go, okay, a lot of those double curves, those are probably parts of a B or a P or something like that. So
Right.
I'm going
Right.
to purposely line them up with the vertical bars and try to do that. It's like as you play more and more, you just start to notice the patterns in this. Like, oh, those diagonals are probably part of an R. So let me put those up against the vertical lines in a way that would make part of an R. Uh,
Yeah.
and
As
yeah,
he's doing all the things I was trying to do.
yeah, and that's what I liked about it is just that process of eventually you recognize like what parts of the letter are most likely to be used, and so the moment you get like a huge screen full of pieces, it's like okay, this probably goes with that, that probably goes with this, and you just go and
Yep.
that's kind of what makes it relaxing and not difficult is that you start to see these patterns that make even the most elaborate like weird puzzles very very doable.
Yep. So it's a trial and error, and you just keep working until you get it. And I'm very much enjoying it. It's a free game, which was another nice thing.
Hmm.
It's well worth it. Definitely worth the price. Um, and yeah, I glad you turned me onto this because I never would have found this game before were it not for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where I found it. I think I was just browsing the iOS games store, and I was just like, "Hey, here's a new game you might like," and I saw it was free, and so I thought, okay, click.
Trying to remember, I'm going to scale through because this one is a long solve. You can tell. There we go.
Well, real quick, speaking of free, I did end up
Uh
putting
huh.
some money into the Final Fantasy mobile game, the War of the
Uh huh.
Visions. Um,
Yep.
and I put in just enough that I felt was justified. I put in $10, which was about what I paid for the original Final Fantasy Tactics on mobile when it went on sale. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and sure enough, I kind of got jack shit all from it. Is like, oh, okay, I got some paid currency, and I can use that to buy nothing real all that special. It's like, okay, I see. If I want
Oh,
to get the
is this Final Fantasy cash grab?
yes, but again, it's not. That's the thing. It's not a cash grab because I'm still really enjoying and really getting so much out of just playing it free. And the fact that I put in $10 and I'm like, yeah, I didn't really see much of a return for this. If I really want to get my money's worth, I got to spend like 20, $30. And I'm like, yeah, no, I ain't going to do that. But
Yeah.
you know what? I've played it enough that I do feel like giving it $10, I was like, yeah, I think this is totally worth it. I'm fine giving them that much money because I'm genuinely enjoying my time with it, and I think it's a good game. And it's like, yeah, here's a
Mm-hmm.
$10 tip, and they're like, thank you. Here's some paid currency. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to use that for anything. Fuck off. Just take my money and just be content with what you have. I'm sure there are some whales spending hundreds of dollars a week, but I'm just not going to be one of them. And like I said,
Good.
I do think that it is well designed enough that you can play a lot of it without having to drop money into it. And even now, after having dropped money into
But
it,
that's a lot of these games.
no,
That's a lot of these games that,
but
you
listen,
keep playing until you hit that wall and then you have to pay.
no, but see, here's that thing. So I think I've started to hit a wall because
Mm-hmm.
there are certain the way a character will level up. You'll get him to like level 50, and then that's the level cap. And then you have to do some certain things to break that limit. And so you have to collect different resources to either limit break them or awaken them. And those are two ways of raising that level cap. You raise that level cap enough and it starts getting really expensive to raise it the final way. It's like, okay, um, you know, I clearly have to gather a lot of resources to awaken them to the 6th level, right? But at the same time, the things you can buy in the store are not those resources that you can use. So the wall that I've hit, the funnel, like the resource funnel that I've hit, cannot really be solved by throwing money at it. It can only be solved by grinding. And that's what I've been surprised about is that it it's not the kind of game that you can get through the wall just by throwing money at it. If you want to get through that
Mm-hmm.
wall, you could do it by throwing money at it possibly, but I'm talking hundreds of dollars. This is not just a simple I'm going to throw $20 to get past this wall. It's like,
Right.
no, you got to invest like $100 to get past this wall. And it's like
Right.
that
Right.
sure, there are whales that will do that, but that leap from wall to paying to get ahead is not like a step-by-step process that gets you there. It's either 0 to 60, and it's like
That's the wall. That's what they do. That's exactly what happened with the Game of Thrones game.
so that's the thing. I have not played that Game of Thrones game, so I don't know what that was like. But it,
Don't
like I said,
just don't. It's
no, I
yeah,
don't want
it
to. I don't
rapidly
want to.
becomes pointless because yours is also single player. So you can
Yes,
easily
yes,
walk away from it. When you throw in the multiplayer aspect of it, then it becomes a little very much more difficult because then other people you have to spend the money to defend yourself against other people.
yeah,
And if
yeah.
you
That's you
don't,
don't have to do
because
anything
there's
like that.
literally whales running around the map just creaming people so that you have to be involved in a guild. And the guild is a social thing, and they're on Discord and they are talking to each other because you have to create a defensive strategy for the guild. And then when events come up, you have to invest time into doing the certain things for the guild. And it's like, I mean, it's more MMO than it is
Yeah, see,
uh
that sounds like a
mobile
lot
game.
of,
And that's real different.
yeah, because it
That's the
sounds
I should
like,
say that's the only difference between these two.
well, not just that, it sounds like it's punishing you for not investing a lot of money into it. Because
Yes.
this game also has a lot of those things. It has guilds. I joined a guild. Um, but what that guild does and how those guild battles work is, you know, you clash and then you can kind of, it's your team versus their team, and you can kind of choose which players on their team you want to fight. And so you can see their power and strength versus your power and strength. So you can kind of choose, you know, oh, here's a low level guy. I'm low level. I'm going to fight that low level guy. And so you can leave the more
Right.
difficult fights to the stronger people on your team. But at the same time, like, not participating in that guild battle doesn't punish you. You get rewards for doing it, but you're not punished for doing it. And depending on the guild, when I was looking at the guild list, there you can leave they leave messages describe what it is. And there's some people that are like level 60 only, blah blah blah. And I was like, nah, that all sounds dumb. I'm gonna join a guild called Filthy Casual. That sounds more my speed.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been fine. Like, I've gotten to play around with those battles, but it's certainly not like the game's not going to punish me for doing anything like that. And in terms of multiplayer, what I've realized is that the multiplayer is great because when you play the normal missions, a single player mission, you're limited by,
Mhm.
the points you can spend per day, right? You get 80 points a day, and certain missions cost points, and so you can only do so many missions per day based on
Right.
that.
Right.
With multiplayer, you're not limited to that. The host has to pay that cost, but all the other players don't. So that means I can join other people's multiplayer games, put the character on auto, because let's be honest, literally everyone has their character on auto during these multiplayer sessions. Anytime someone disables automatic play, no one joins that, because it's just a pain, because auto goes much faster because you just join these games to grind. And I've seen messages of people like, yo, I have 600 points, let's just grind for the evening. Because it's just,
Mhm.
um since I don't, he's got a diaper on. Since I don't have to pay that cost, I can join a game, play it, get the resources I need, and then just say, okay, let's replay, let's do that again, let's do that again, let's do that again. And so if it was the single player, I could play that mission maybe 5 times and they'll run out of points. In multiplayer, I could do
Mhm.
it 100 times and never run out of points because I'm not spending it. So that's another
Right.
way where the multiplayer, I'm not actually being attacked by anything, so I'm not losing anything in this situation. And B, whatever the multiplayer has exists, just exists, has a method for grinding. Like, that's the thing about this game, is it feels like it's designed around that resource grind, and you can't really buy your way past it because that's kind of integral to the process of building these characters. And
Right.
like I said way back when, as someone who was looking for just like a good character management game, well, I want to focus more on what equipment the character has, what abilities they have, without worrying too much about the actual playing of the game. uh, that's what
Mhm.
this is. Like, it's very much about building the characters and outfitting the characters, and that, more than it is the single player. But on top of that, I do enjoy the single player story. I think it's an interesting story, um, and I'm interested to see where it goes, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of political things going around. So yes, that's why I do take umbrage with calling it cash grab, because I don't feel like it is a cash grab, because it just feels like you can't buy your way past that grind. You either enjoy the grind and you play the game, or you don't enjoy the grind and you don't play the game. But you can't
Right.
buy your way past the grind, because no matter how much money you throw into it, you're still going to have to grind some shit.
So, shall we hit the news,
Uh,
sir?
yes,
I moved
that's.
my I finally put up a shade, which is a couple of boxes in my window. So I can no longer be completely like blinding to your face.
Just like a ghost.
Yeah, the ghost face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great because it hides all. It makes my skin look fabulous, but it's very hard to look at. So yeah, let's hit. Wait for it. Stand by. Let's hit the news. This is the GameHounds news, the news, views, and commentary of the week in gaming with Edie Sellers and Nikki Nicola. And our first item is Nick.
Microsoft had an event where they showed off a
Right.
bunch of Xbox games, which
Yes, they
got kind
did.
of
It did not
mixed
go well.
reception.
Yeah.
Well, afterwards, Aaron Greenberg, the Xbox marketing GM, sent out a tweet that basically said, "Yeah, I think we might have given people the wrong expectations of what this was." Um, excuse me. Because what it ended up being is instead of like real delving into the gameplay of the Xbox, it was a lot of CG trailers, and that's kind of the gist of it. The biggest controversy from the show being a new trailer for Assassin's Creed Valhalla that
Mm-hmm.
explicitly billed itself has the new gameplay trailer that was cut together like a cinematic trailer that didn't look like it had any
Yeah, was
gameplay.
no gameplay, was cinematic, and I
Well,
believe it
well,
didn't even show the main character.
no, it definitely showed the main character.
Oh, okay.
But I'll defend it. There's quite it could very
Of course
easily
you will.
have some gameplay. They just removed the UI to make it more cinematic. And there's a few shots where it's like, okay, I see the cameras behind him. That could be gameplay. Oh, the
Mm,
camera's kind of that could be gameplay, but you just removed the UI. Eh, it's I think it's gameplay is the wrong word. Like I think I understand what
yeah.
they were going for with the first trailer was a full-on like CG cinematic trailer. This one
Mm-hmm.
feels like it's more in-game footage. Like, hey, we cut this trailer using assets that you will actually see in the game rather than these pre-rendered, super detailed
Movie
cinematics.
trailers.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
instead of a movie trailer, you get the in-game footage trailer.
Right.
But they called it a gameplay trailer, which is a very different thing than, in-game footage.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets kind of like, just yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, you named this the wrong thing. That's not good.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, for a lot of the other
So
games,
Xbox
yeah, go on.
2020 will occur every month throughout the year.
Except not
So expect
next
another one next
month.
month.
But they said the next one's in July. It's like they're skipping June.
Did they?
Yeah, I was pretty sure.
Yeah. The fact that well, maybe they did say it was in July and they're maybe doing it every other month, or maybe they're skipping June for some reason. I would imagine they probably won't want to skip June, considering that the May Xbox 2020 didn't do well, was not well received to say the least.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, they also talked about the Microsoft Smart Delivery Service, which is that service that you and I both talked about a couple of different times. That is a service that's available for developers and publishers, and it's how that the technology it's let's see, what was it? Do you remember the details of it? The
Mm-mm.
smart delivery has to do with
It's basically
instead of selling
it.
two different copies of the same game, the Xbox One and the Series X.
Yeah, like if you buy the Xbox One version, so if I don't
That's
buy a
right.
Series X and I just buy Halo
Right.
Infinite for the Xbox One, then next year when I
Right.
buy the Series X, I'll be able to upgrade my old copy of Halo Infinite to the Series X version
Right.
without
Right. Right.
having to buy a new version. Which, and I've seen a lot of
Yeah,
people
yeah, I
say
remember. And they were
this
talking
is,
about that with the Cyberpunk 2077 is
yeah,
going to be doing that
and
too.
like I've seen a lot of people say like this is either a really nice feature or it's like just fucking common sense. And it's
Yeah,
like,
but when it comes to the game industry, common sense is almost sometimes neither. To lie on both counts. Just because common sense is it's not very common. And when given the option of making you pay for something twice, the industry in the past has happily made you pay twice.
yes. And actually, before we get too far into the Xbox thing, um, there was someone had a tweet about Madden 21, um, that apparently it's not fully supporting that smart delivery. So what happens is,
Mm-hmm.
to be eligible for the free upgrade from Xbox One to Xbox Series X, you have to buy the Xbox One copy by December 21st, 2020, and you have to upgrade it by March 31st, 2021. So it's not just this general, hey, if you buy it, you can upgrade it. You have to buy it within this specific time frame, and you have to upgrade it within this specific time frame.
Oh, that is problematic for a couple of reasons. You may very well buy this game when it comes out, and that sets a ticking time bomb for you to lose your ability to upgrade. And they've already said that there's going to be hardware issues come the end of the year when they do release the Xbox Series X, meaning that there's going to be supply issues. They're not going to like be able to pump them out like they have been because of COVID and the disruption of the manufacturing and shipping sectors. And they already know that bots are a problem and bots are going to descend. And when you've got, I mean, they've always done this like false drought to keep their consoles in the news, because the more that people are standing in line for things over Christmas, the more press reports they're going to get about it, and the more word of mouth they're going to get about it. So it creates this false shortage. But this time it's going to be a real shortage. And bots are going, I mean, if the Switch right now is any proof of anything, the bots are going to be in full fucking force. So most, I would say the vast majority of any hardware that's coming out right now is going to be ordered and purchased by people wanting to resell it to you. Maybe I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think I'm going to be too far off. That it's going to be super fucking hard to get an Xbox Series X between Christmas and March when you have to buy the Xbox Series X.
Yeah, to be eligible for this.
Right. So you might be out the money and be forced to like, well, shit, I've got to rebuy this game. Or I can not buy this game at all until I get an Xbox Series X because I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get one.
Yeah.
The problem isn't necessarily it's ignoring a problem within the supply stream, and it's kind of putting the fault that you didn't get your Series X in by March, so bad on you. And it's like saying, well, it's your fault you didn't do it. What's wrong with you? It's like for example, I would love to buy a Switch right now. I have the money for a Switch right now. I would totally buy it. Can't find one.
Hmm.
Not unless I go onto eBay and pay $100 premium on it, and I won't do that.
It'll be interesting to see if that window stays the same, because that's definitely like it's a launch window time frame, the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if the rumors are true that like
That's ignoring a lot of
Sony
reality.
if Sony explicitly cuts their supply like they've been rumored to do, then that will have a big effect. But also, actually,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not, because this is just about Xbox. We haven't heard things about Sony and their backwards compatibility and how that might work. So that's all kind of up
Right.
in the air.
Yep. So
But
AC Wraith said,
okay,
as seen at PAX 20 East 2017, Tonight We Riot released, and it was fun for me to see GameHounds as a Steam curator listing it.
so I was
Look,
trying to remember that. I actually looked at that, and I remember Riot Civil Unrest, but I don't remember Tonight We Riot.
Tonight We Riot was a totally different game.
Okay, because I actually looked at footage of this, and I was
Uh,
like, I don't remember that game.
let's see.
Are you looking up like what
I'm
we
pulling
did
it up
with
right
it?
now. Sorry if this is bad audio, guys. I'm pulling it up right
I'm
now
I'm just
to remind
curious.
myself. Yes, there were two. I remember distinctly there were two Riot games, and
Okay,
was having a hard time keeping them together, like figuring out which one was which. But this is no, I don't want to add that to the stream. I want to add something else to the stream. Um, it was something that and I had a really hard time making these to figuring these out, like separating them in my head. And I've got banners on there that don't work. Let's see. Trying to find some gameplay. Oh, yes, I remember this one. You don't remember this one?
no, did I do an interview for this one? Was I
Where,
on this
yeah, you have
interview?
to get past certain things. Maybe not. Maybe it was goalie only. But you have to lead the workers. It's kind of through like a platform, but you have to lead the workers through the platform and defending against the police and the defenders because you're writing. So yeah, it's much more gamey than the Riot Civil Unrest, which is more. It was more of a social justice game in that it was trying to make a statement about rioting, whereas this was like, more platformy.
Oh
But yeah,
wait,
it looked
I
super fun.
vaguely
Are you starting to
remember
vaguely
something
remember?
like a
I think you were on it.
man.
You and I definitely
2017 was so long
a
ago.
long time ago. Yeah. It was back when we did the ad scene at PAX for I think we did that 1 year. We saw it at PAX East. So yeah, that's Tonight We Riot. Oop, sorry about that.
Okay, but
Um,
back to the Xbox thing, the Microsoft event.
yes.
They showed off some neat games. I think it's interesting. They showed off one called Bright, which God, the logo for this game is awful because it looks like it's pronounced Bright Infinite Memory, but apparently it's actually Bright Memory Infinite, even though the Infinite appears in between Bright and Memory. Like it's a fucking awful logo. Um, that was sort of the most visually impressive one. It just had a lot of effects, a lot of like the it was sharp, like the it was dark, windy, so there's lots of stuff blowing around, lots of like wind and particle effects, but at the same time, there's just enough light to like reflect off the ground and mud that it looked really impressive. Um, but apparently, that is like an episodic game, and part of the episodes has already come out. Um, I'm not entirely sure, but seems like a weird
Whoop,
thing to add.
you're. Is
Did I
it
go
just me,
mute
guys,
again?
or is okay? There we go. Nick, your audio is your internet's starting to go down again. I don't think it is your microphone. It's cutting in and out. I think it's
Ah,
your there. AC Ray says you were both there. All right. So now your microphone is definitely dead. Okay, now you might be back.
test.
Oh no, you're just horribly delayed. You are terribly delayed. Do you want
No one else
to?
is using the internet.
Oh wow, you're delayed. I still have yet to hear what you just said. So, do you want to leave the stream and come back because you're not good. You are delayed
Sure.
so much. It's crazy. Yeah, he's going to leave and come back. So while he does that, I will bring up this bright memory infinite thing. I'm going to have to go out of this and go into the share screen so that you can see it. This is the logo that Nick was complaining about so that you could see it. Yeah, it does look like it says bright infinite memory, but it's bright memory infinite. Terrible, terrible idea. So now that we're without a co-host, oh, here he comes.
Okay, how's
All
this?
right,
Any
let's
better?
see how you're doing now.
Test, test.
Are you screwing with me?
No.
Oh God, no, you're just as bad. But we'll work with it. Maybe it'll catch up. Maybe it will catch up. Are you okay? Your Barbara says there's no delay from here. Bitters Plus says I like those old Chinese movies. Oh, Bitter says it sounds fine. So maybe it's just in my headset, and that's
Huh,
fine. All right. Then
okay.
let's keep going because it's not, it's me. Maybe it's my internet will sort itself out.
Um,
Okay.
it's okay.
So, yeah, I was just pulled up the bright memory infinite logo that you said was an issue.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally. It looks like it says bright infinite memory, but
so
it's bright
bad.
memory infinite. So, what else was shown?
Um, so then they showed off Dirt 5, I think it was, which looked
What
pretty
else was
good.
shown?
Dirt 5. Um, and what's better than just the graphics is I remember reading afterwards that you could
Oh yeah, I
choose
know
to
you're delayed.
play.
Okay, just keep talking, and I'm going to talk to Kevin about about the internet.
Okay, I'll just keep talking. Um, what's most impressive about Dirt is less what we saw during the trailer and more what I learned afterwards, which is that you could choose to play that game at 120 frames per second on a lower resolution or 60 frames per second at 4K. I don't know what that lower resolution means necessarily. It could be 1080, it could be 720, but the fact is you can play it 4K, 60 frames per second, or 120 frames per second lower. That's interesting because like I don't think any console game has ever gotten that high before. Um, but the game they also showed off with some other stuff. There was a like Starship Fighter called Chorus. There was an anime game that I honestly can't remember what it was, but this one that stole the show for me was one called Scorn, which just looked like the most fucked up HR Geiger esque thing imaginable. Just like weird, like bony penises in walls, like weird fleshy eyes popping from a thing, weird like intestine plugs. It was just the most gross, disgusting thing, and I am so on board with it. I don't know what I have no idea what that game is actually about. Like I assume it's a horror game, clearly. Um, don't know anything about story, but the visuals are really fucking impressive and really fucking unnerving in a way that I am super excited for. But apparently, and I learned this from a tweet just looking around, that um, Scorn is a Xbox exclusive. I don't know if it's a timed exclusive or a forever exclusive, but it is exclusive. And so is The Medium, which is a new game from Blooper Team, the ones that did Layers of Fear and the Blair Witch Project. Call of the Sea, which is just kind of look like an adventure game, and another called The Ascent, all Xbox exclusive games. And in the chat, where was it? I'm trying to find the tab. In the chat, AC Wraith has mentioned that Scarlet Nexus is the anime game that I wasn't sure about. Okay, and that's that. Did you get anything, Edie, about?
All right, sorry. I am uh-oh. Uh well, it appears that you have not been recording to Spreaker. So I had to go into that, and I think that you're still super delayed.
Okay. How?
Yeah, you are still super delayed. So I have taken us off of Spreaker right now.
Okay. I tried closing a bunch of tabs.
Yeah, you're like 30 seconds delayed for me. I don't know that it's you. I have closed up all of my tabs. I know that YouTube is being very challenged right now with the amount of people hitting YouTube, that their servers are not as robust. I've been noticing this lately. Um, all right, do me a favor. I am going to say A. As soon as you hear A, say B. So I know how delayed I am with you. A.
B.
Yeah, that is super slow.
What's funny is I can hear myself through your headphones, so I know exactly how delayed I am from you.
Okay, because I was going to say you want to turn around and say B to get a sense of how delayed you are in my headset. But we've got a good 10 to 20 seconds of
Mm-hmm.
delay going. It's no delay on YouTube.
Which is weird.
Oh, I hear he's delayed with Edie, but fine to us. Okay, so this is
Yeah,
so
no delay on YouTube. That's
strange.
weird.
So maybe the problem is with StreamYard.
Maybe
It's going to be for
the problem is with me
yeah.
coming to you
How can that be? Because
because
I'm
I can hear
literally
you
waiting to
fine.
hear Nick's voice.
Yeah, I can hear you fine, and I respond to you that feels like in real time, but it takes so much longer for my voice to go through the internet pipes to you.
No, it's taking time for my internet pipes to go to you as well, because you saw how soon, like, I am going to put my finger up at when I say A.
Okay.
And trust me, it's like 10 seconds before you get this me going to you. My outies to your innies, it takes like 10 seconds. So I'm going to say A again. Ready? A.
Okay. I saw it and heard it at the same time.
Now, can you? Okay, now I'm putting my hand down. Now, look how long my hand is up. That's how long it took for you to receive me saying A.
Huh? Anyways, I don't know. I don't know. Um,
Oh God, this is
do,
so.
do you
There
want
is
to
such
keep going
long dead
or
spaces of me waiting to hear. So you know what? I'm saying that either you know what we. Yeah, we can't. It's. There's no way we can have a conversation.
okay, well, I have at least a couple news stories that are interesting that I could just monologue for a bit.
Sure.
Okay. Um so, first of all, in GTA Online, there has been, and I'm not sure if we mentioned this before or not, there has been a gang war going on between purple aliens and green aliens. Uh, Basically, people dressed up in these full body green alien outfits and full body purple alien outfits. And it's kind of taken over TikTok with videos of green aliens like rolling up to purple aliens and shooting them through the door like a gang war, but made fun and family friendly with stupid alien costumes. Um, Rockstar has now officially made those alien suits free. So you no longer have to spend money to buy the suits to become part of these gangs. You can just choose whichever gang you want to be and participate in the war to your heart's content. Um, so that seems like a fun way to. I appreciate them going that it's not really an extra mile, but going that extra foot to just facilitate some dumb goofy thing going on in their online game. I think that's good on them. Uh, in sales news on Steam, there is a big ass Square Enix Stay Home and Play anthology. We're basically a whole bunch of Square Enix's biggest games are on sale for $40. And it's crazy. So for $40, you can get uh, all of the old Tomb Raiders, and by that I mean like the original PlayStation ones, the mid-generation upgrade, the Legend Anniversary and Underworld, and then you get the newest, well, Tomb Raider reboot. You get Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I'm not sure if you get the most recent one. I think that one's not included. But in addition to that, you get Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which I believe is the first of the rebooted Deus Ex games. You get the Life is Strange Complete Edition, you get Sleeping Dogs, Just Cause 1 and 2, Kane and Lynch 1 and 2. Oh, you also get Deus Ex Human Revolution. That was the original. Then Deus Ex Mankind Divided was the second one. You also get the old Deus Ex games, the Game of the Year Edition, Invisible War, The Fall. You get Thief, all of the old Thief games. You get some um, old Battle Stations Pacific and Battle Stations Midway, which are these like Army Sim battleship games. Something called Project Snowblind, which I'm not actually sure what that was. Mini Ninjas, which I remember just being kind of a fun, cute platformer. The cool games, A Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 2, Defiance, and then Blood Omen 2, Legacy of Kain, which are just an old, like PlayStation 1 era franchise, kind of action RPGs that I'm really surprised have not been remade yet. Dungeon Siege 1, 2, and 3, Pandemonium, Daikatana, uh, Goetia, which is just a neat puzzle game. And you get the Turing Test, which I think is one of the best Portal-esque puzzle games that was ever made in the wake of Portal. Um, and then you have another couple of smaller games in addition to those, but like just a couple of those are worth $40, and to get all of those as part of the bundle is pretty good. It is their Square Enix's Stay at Home bundle anthology on Steam. And then so one of the things people were kind of disappointed about with the Xbox game reveal is that other than I think that Bright Memory Infinite, um, most of the games just looked like games with good graphics. Like compare the Bright, fuck, I'm just gonna call it Bright Infinite Memory. Compare Bright Infinite Memory to something like Death Stranding, and you're like, yeah, that looks good, but it doesn't necessarily look that good. Like it doesn't look like what we're used to, the idea of a next generation leap in graphics. And so IGN actually put out an article that said you may need to lower your expectations for next gen games, like how they look graphics wise. And then Jeff Keighley tweeted that this article will likely not age well, which people have taken to speculating that he has seen more of these games and he has seen that there actually is a significant visual upgrade, more so than what we saw out of that Xbox event. So if that event is kind of the disappointment with the games shown at that event might not be representative of the games for the next gen as a whole. Um, Okay, and in the chat, AC Wraith has mentioned that it looks like the bundle doesn't charge you for games that are already owned, so the price will vary a bit. So it's $40 if you don't own any of those games. If you already own some of those games, the price will actually just decrease as it takes those games out of the bundle. So you're not actually buying things uh, over again, which is nice. Um, and Bitters Plus mentioned that Deus Ex Revolution is good. Yes, it is. I really enjoyed those games. Those are very fun action RPGs. And that I think is kind of all I've got. Um, there's footage of a canceled Prince of Persia game that has been on YouTube for 8 years, but it was apparently just rediscovered now, um, which I find very very interesting as someone who is a big Prince of Persia fan. Um, I don't know really what you can do with it. Like it's just footage of a game that never existed, but it's cool looking footage. And it makes me sad that we never really got a upgraded Prince of Persia. That franchise deserves to come back. And so that's
All
all I
right,
got.
so here's what I've got for my items today. Let's see. Let me go back to not zoomed in because I can't see freaking anything the way I had it zoomed in for that screenshot. Battlefield 5 this summer is DICE announced that it would no longer be supporting Battlefield 5. Well, I mean it's going to support them, but we're going to get our last installation on it this summer and then that is it. And at the same time they released a new character to play. A lot of people are pretty unhappy about it because right after they announced that this is going to be our last pack, there's going to be one more update after that. There's going to be a new pack this summer, final update shortly afterwards, and it's just going to um, fix bugs, and that's it. And a lot of people are very disappointed that so many very seminal battles within World War II were never included into Battlefield 5, like freaking the Eastern Front. A lot of stuff. But most importantly is that this new character that they released is kind of a Tom Cruise looking character. And it's like, your characters, do you all know what? And they released it on VE Day, which is kind of an important day in the history of World War II. And yet they release kind of a Tom Cruise looking character with, the aviator sunglasses. And it's like, guys, come on. You've disappointed a lot of people, especially people that appreciate this being historical, and you trying to make it historical and then you didn't make it historical. It's like either you're going to be historical or you're not. Just don't claim that you
I
will be and then move on.
I feel like that's a bit.
If you're going to
It's,
comment on these things, Nick, it's going to take an
yes,
hour
I
because
know. I just don't think Battlefield 5 has ever been historical. They went weird with it.
no, I think it was historical. I think that was the whole
Yeah.
point. That's why they made it about these stories about uh, soldiers and letters from home and what things were like. Oh yeah, no, these it was at least trying to be historical, and especially in their campaigns, understanding all the different fronts that were going on. Yeah, there's a certain obligation when you try to make something historical. If you want to make a fantasy World War II game, fine, say that. But don't like try to make it feel like it is, set it in real places and real battles and then throw in I'm not the one who's saying these. I don't care. But it is not landing well in the community. There are a number of people, and it's not just me, who are saying that this latest character is about as tone deaf as about as Dice has ever been about World War II or anything that they've done. It's particularly tone deaf, and releasing it on VE Day. Let's see, you already talked about the Square Enix anthology. I've got a really interesting deal from called the Platinum Collection that is on Steam. It is called the Platinum Collection Mix and Pick Bundle. You can get 3 games for $10 from a particular list of games. You can get 4 games for $13.29 or 5 games for $16.59. And these games include any of these lists. So it's kind of like a smorgasbord, like a what's the word I want? It's kind of like a hometown buffet for games. Craft the World, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, Felix the Reaper, not a bad game. Flashing Lights, Police Fire EMS, The Great Perhaps, Jalopy, Just Cause 3 XXL Edition, Life is Feudal, Forest Village, Mist Survival, Niflheim, Silence, Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, Stars End, Sudden Strike 4, The Surge, and Tropico 5. So any 3 of those games, $10, 4 of those games, $13.29, and 5 of those games for $16.59. Also, I did want to mention that you didn't mention about this Square Enix Eidos anthology for $40. That's this amazing deal. It's actually the proceeds from it are going to charity. It is a stay at home and play JRPG collection. The stay at home and play JRPG collection is no longer available, which they did as a benefit for COVID relief in, I believe it was Asia. This Square Enix Eidos anthology is a benefit to help with COVID relief in Europe. So there is a charity aspect of that Square Enix Eidos anthology that makes it even more alluring, is that the money is being going for good. My final thing is that Tokyo Game Show TGS 2020 has been officially canceled. The organizers announced in a press release that they shared on Twitter by user Wario64 that the physical event is not going to happen, but they will be doing an entirely digital show. The thing that's kind of, all of these shows have canceled. We got E3 that's canceled. We got GDC that's canceled. The Paris Games Week has been canceled. But the thing about this one is that this is an event that's held between September 24th and September 27th. It is that far out that they're canceling this show. And it says to me that if you have shows before the Labor Day weekend and after Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day, whatever it is, the one in September, that PAX is probably going to get canceled. I can't imagine that they would be the only one in the world that's holding a massive, several 100,000 attendees games convention in September, because it's at the end of August, early September. So, and this is even later than that and deeper into the summer. Granted, no, I think their summer is the same as ours. We're kind of equidistant, like we're right at the same level pretty much as Japan as far as, the latitude. Longitude. So their summer is exactly the same of our summer. So that's latitude. Anyway, so I'm thinking that PAX is probably going to get canceled. So there you go. That's all my news. And I'm sorry that everything is delayed and we can't do this show normally. Thank you for the links to more information about this. Thank you for the link for the Battlefield 5. Barbara Zelikvin says the ninja in the background. Yeah, that's my husband. All right, so we should probably wrap this up simply because we can't have a conversation with each other, which kind of sucks. Hopefully next week we will sort out what the fuck went wrong with Spreaker, what the fuck went wrong with StreamYard, and we will have a better show. But let's close this out. And I don't have any. Do I have some music? Because I'm so used to hearing the music, I kind of have to do it with the music. So let's see if I can do it with music. Oh, yeah, good. I am doing it. So it's just in my ears. Thank you for listening to GameHounds. This was GameHounds episode 544. We recorded this on May 10th, 2020. If you would like to get a hold of us, gamehounds.net is our website. Gamehounds at gmail.com is our email. We stream this live on YouTube. On YouTube, it is on at GameHounds Vids. That's VIDS as in videos. Please join us by watching there and being in the chat room. By the way, thanks to everybody in the chat room, including AC Wraith and Bitters and Barbara and who else we got? We had Eric Baker. Thank you so much for being in here. A ton of other people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Also, we do stream live on Facebook. It is The Gamehounds on Facebook. All of our Facebook pages are lovingly curated by our very own piss boy, Steve M. Hawk Ortegon. Love you, dude. Thank you so much for doing that every single week, and we're happy to have you. Also, everything that's been mentioned, if you want to find links or background information on what we just said, or find out information about the games that we mentioned, go to the chat for any of these shows, no matter where you went to them. Our very own AC Wraith, our link bitch, puts links for everything we mention every single week, almost to a fault, and I love him for it. Thank you so much for doing that. We have a Patreon account. It is patreon.com/GameHounds. Please, if you can, throw a couple bucks at us. It actually helps pay for this, especially right now, since all of us are a little financially challenged. If you can't, it's okay. We understand. No obligation. But if you can, we would appreciate becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/GameHounds. And I guess that's it. Nick, I will talk to you on Tuesday of next week. And don't forget, we are on Twitch. I believe we're Gamehounds on Twitch. And yeah, we are. We're Gamehounds on Twitch. And we will stream on Twitch so that you can watch. Maybe we'll stream on YouTube. But you'll watch us, Nick, play his very first MMO like a big boy. So we'll talk to y'all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.